Tonight, you will hear the Trojan War again, but not the exciting version, not the heroic battles, not the dramatic speeches, and definitely not the part where people yell and run around. No, this is the slow version, the quiet version, the version told by someone who was far too tired to care about heroes or glory. So breathe, let your shoulders fall, and drift into the most uneventful war in ancient history. The story begins very slowly. The Trojan War did not begin with a dramatic event. It began the way many sleepy myths begin, with a party that lasted too long and a group of gods who were already half bored before anything even happened. On Mount Olympus, the gods gathered for a wedding. Everyone showed up, except one goddess, Eris, who was known mostly for being annoying. Because she wasn't invited, she decided to cause just the tiniest bit of trouble. Not dramatic trouble, just the lazy kind. She rolled a golden apple into the party with the words, "For the fairest." Most people ignored it. It rolled around the floor for a while. Eventually, 3 goddesses noticed it: Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. They sighed, they were tired, but they still wanted the apple. So they asked Zeus. Zeus, who did not want to deal with this, looked around for someone else to make the decision for him. He found Paris, a shepherd, a man known for his peaceful life and for being mildly confused most of the time. Perfect. Paris makes the least dramatic decision. The 3 goddesses appeared before Paris. He blinked slowly, wondering if he was dreaming. They asked him to choose which one of them should receive the apple. Paris didn't like choosing things. In fact, choosing things made him sleepy. One goddess offered him power, another offered him wisdom. Aphrodite offered him a wife so beautiful that she would probably cause problems. Paris did not want problems, but he also did not want to make the other goddesses angry. So he simply nodded at Aphrodite because nodding was the easiest. And unfortunately, that one small nod slowly, eventually, gently set the Trojan War in motion. Helen leaves, very quietly. Helen of Sparta, known for her beauty, was living a quiet life with her husband Menelaus. One day Paris visited. The meeting wasn't dramatic. They didn't lock eyes in a burst of passion. No lightning, no music, no sudden gasp. They simply talked. Then they talked again. And eventually, after a very long, very calm conversation, Helen decided to leave with Paris. Menelaus returned home, saw she was gone, and let out the most exhausted sigh any man has ever sighed. He gathered the Greek kings and delivered a speech so boring that half the leaders fell asleep before he finished asking for help. Still, they agreed to go to Troy. Slowly, very slowly, the Greeks travel at a snail's pace. The Greek fleet set sail, 1,000 ships moving at a speed that could best be described as casual. The wind was lazy. The rowers were tired. The gods were distracted. It took them so long to reach Troy that some soldiers forgot why they were even sailing. One man thought he was going fishing. Another believed it was a long vacation. A third was convinced they were simply lost. But eventually, after a journey that felt like centuries, the Greeks arrived. The war begins. Kind of. When the Greeks landed on the beach, nothing happened. The Trojans watched from the walls. The Greeks stood around, stretching their legs. Both sides were waiting for someone to do something dramatic. No one did. For days, then weeks, then months. The war was more of a very slow argument than an actual conflict. Heroes like Achilles and Hector spent most days polishing armor, sitting in tents, and discussing absolutely nothing. The bards would later claim these were great battles. But truly, most of the time, everyone was too tired to pick up a spear. 10 years of not much, yes. 10 years. 10 years of waiting, napping, stretching, mild complaining, staring at the horizon, and occasionally remembering that a war was happening. The most exciting thing that occurred during those 10 years was when Achilles misplaced his helmet for 3 days. Everyone helped look for it. That was perhaps the most teamwork the Greeks ever showed. The wooden horse, a very sleepy idea. One day, Odysseus, the most clever of the Greeks, realized that everyone was simply too exhausted to continue. So he suggested an idea. "Let's build a giant wooden horse," he said in a monotone voice, "and hide inside it. Maybe they'll bring it into the city. Maybe this will finally be over." Everyone stared at him. No one argued, mostly because arguing required energy. So they built the horse, very slowly, piece by piece, with long breaks in between. When the Trojans found it, they thought, a large wooden horse, why not? They dragged it inside with the same energy a tired person uses to pull a blanket over themselves.
That night, the Greek soldiers climbed out, feeling stiff, hungry, and terribly cramped. They opened the gates, the war ended, and everyone simply wanted to go home. The quiet ending. After 10 years, the war closed not with a bang, but with a weary exhale. The Greeks went home, the Trojans went to sleep, and the world moved on, as if nothing particularly exciting had happened at all. Because in this version, nothing really did, just a long, slow, deeply boring tale, perfect for drifting you into rest. So now, let your eyes grow heavy, let your breath become soft, and fall into the peaceful quiet of the most boring Trojan War ever told. Good night.